to directly to AT&T. Hi guys, my name's Haiti and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery.
And I'm Felice and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery, and thank you for joining us this Wednesday night. I'm going to get it correct today. It is Wednesday night and this is our Why Wait for Recovery Wacky Wednesday that really is never wacky Wednesday recovery meeting. And hi everybody, we're really glad that you came to join us tonight.
So I'm the emotional binger, purger, food addict, drug addict.
Are you sure?
I really am. Tonight I'm convinced.
Okay, and I'm just a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic.
So
those are the only ones I got.
So we get together weekly, in fact twice weekly, to discuss recovery.
We're going to discuss recovery like we always discuss recovery.
And we have people that join us in different ways. Some people are in the rooms with us physically. Hi guys. And some people step into the room virtually via Zoom so that they can participate in the conversation.
Peace in, Zoom guys.
And other people join us live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and also we are on Google. So we welcome your comments and your suggestions. But the one thing is, if you want to really start working on your recovery, we need to start speaking. So please join us on Zoom. The instructions are on the top of our Why Wait for Recovery page on Facebook. Just click it, pop into the conversation, and you can talk with us.
Right, and you guys, it is better if you can show up in the room. This way you can share and feel more a part of. And especially in the beginning, actually not even just in the beginning, right? Even as we're going through it, sometimes it really is scary to be in the room, especially when we don't feel like being in the room. And so that's when we want you actually to join. That's when it's most important to be there, because whenever we don't feel like working on our recovery, it's because we got something that we need to work on that has to do with our recovery.
So just to also give people peace of mind, the only people that you see live streaming is myself and Felice. Everyone else is privately hidden, and we do respect anonymity.
And we call it anonymity.
Yes, I have an accent, so, and I have a speech impediment, so so not really. But addiction is really a thinking disease, and at those times when I'm the most resistant is the time that I really need to speak the most and wrap myself out, because it's really the secrets that keep us sick.
Right, correct. And tonight we are going to talk about recovery. We're going to talk about, you guys, it's a holiday. So funny, you know, with my patients at work, so my patients do food logs. All of my new patients do, all of my obese new patients do food logs. The first thing that I talk with my patients when they walk into the room is who's working with them on some type of recovery program so that they're not obese. And it's so funny because nobody does their food log over Thanksgiving. You know, nobody gets clean over the holidays. And the thing is that when we do get clean and we are in recovery, it allows us to actually live spiritually well and happy through those holidays, instead of using the holidays as an excuse to abuse ourselves, which is basically what we do, right? When we say, well, we're going to start after Thanksgiving, it's like, okay, let me do everything that I can right now to make myself feel horrible about myself so that I can hide and then give myself more time to feel horrible about myself so that I can perpetuate the madness that's happening right now in my brain, instead of saying today is as good as any other day to step into recovery.
So I've been getting a lot of emails and messages about foods and different programs and different plans that people are on. And food addiction is really pretty insidious, because for us, not only do we have the addiction issue, but we also have our triggers. We're surrounded by food, and it's not about the food, it's really what's eating us.
Right.
There is a caveat though. So people come and they say to me, you know, our dietitian or nutritionist or whoever put us on this plan, and I find I have insane cravings and they're my triggers, or I've been in recovery for a while and this plan's not working for me. We don't promote any plans. Ours is not a diet, ours is not a supplement group, but the one thing I can tell you is the one thing we are responsible for is our own recovery, and part of that is knowing the things that work for us and don't work for us. I know what my trigger foods are, and no matter what anyone tells me, whether they tell me I'm allowed to have them, I know in my heart and in my soul that if I touch them or pick them up, those are danger to me, and those are poisons within my body that send me on a whole spiral into this rabbit hole.
Right. And the one thing that we are going to talk about, that we always talk about, is the dopamine receptor. And so we know sugar and crack both stimulate our dopamine receptor, which is the pleasure center. And when we talk about rice, bread, potato, pasta, and sweets, all of our starches and our sweets, once we're stimulating that dopamine receptor, our brain is going to ask us for more and ask us for more. So if I do a bunch of cocaine in a couple of hours, I'm going to want to do a bunch more cocaine. That's the way that our brain works. And it works exactly the same with sugar. So what happens with a lot of people is they'll have bariatric surgery, or they'll see their nutritionist, or they'll find a nutritionist that lets them know that, oh yeah, well, you can have bread as long as it's whole wheat bread, and you can have potato as long as it's sweet potato. And I'm telling you, if you decide that that's your truth, then you're lying to yourself. So again, if we're going to stimulate the dopamine receptor, we're going to crave like crazy, and eventually I might get away with it today or tomorrow, the next day, but it's going to catch up with us. And eventually I will, if I have lost any weight, I will put that weight back on and then some. And we do talk about how, you know, addiction's addiction. It's a problem in our head. It's not a problem with what we're picking up. So if I pick up cocaine, I'm going to be nice and skinny, right? So it ain't about my size. It's about what I'm picking up. If I'm picking up food, it's same. It's the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. It's the feelings that we're trying to stuff or dull or not deal with, or the parts of our life that we're doing whatever we can to avoid, and allowing whatever that substance is to change the way that we feel so that we don't have to feel what we're feeling. And if every addict asks themselves that, it's always going to get back to that. Why is it that I feel so bad, that I feel unloved, that I feel not good enough, that I feel that I'm doing stuff that I know is hurting me, and I choose to do it again and again and again, right? No matter how guilty or how ashamed it makes me feel after, or how out of control I feel after.
Right, and how come I spend so much time during the day that revolves around food, about swapping this? And I tend to go into a diet mentality. I'm that obsessive compulsive addict. So what happens is the minute I'm in recovery, the minute I start going into addictive phases or addictive thinking, because I am still an addict and my brain sometimes wants to go there, it becomes a constant conversation. The conversation goes, what happens if I swap this flour for that flour? What happens if I do this instead of this? What happens if I do keto instead of Weight Watchers? What happens if I do this diet instead of that diet? And it becomes this insane conversation that doesn't stop, because at the end of the day, my addiction still wants me to feed it the foods that it wants, so I can keep stimulating that dopamine or whatever that receptor is. But at the end of the day, I've missed everything else that's happened. So by the end of the day, I've been counting down till lunchtime or till breakfast time. I've been trying to plan about what I'm eating. I never had enough food because I never packed it. And my whole day, I've spent 90% of it having conversations in my brain of, am I hungry? What can I get to eat? Where am I going to eat? Where are we going to stop? And everything else has disappeared out the window. And besides that, at a certain point, if I let myself in, because as an addict, I will use any excuse to pick up if I'm not in recovery and I don't have the proper tools. And once I do that, then it becomes that slippery slope that ends in shame and guilt and demoralization, that I end up beating myself up and that I'm not good enough. And it becomes a whole bigger story of how worthless and how useless I really am. And I've lost a whole day that everything started with food.
And what happens when we're in active addiction, it allows us to focus on us being in active addiction instead of focusing on ourselves. And so instead of me thinking about what is it that I'm feeling, what am I thinking, what kind of thought processes will I change so that I can stay in recovery, that's all I'm paying attention to at that point is what I'm doing, instead of how I'm feeling. And then I'm feeling badly about being in active addiction, which allows me to pay absolutely no attention to what it is that's going on with me anyway.
Right, so yesterday I actually had one of those days. I had beat the crap out of Haiti Day.
Okay.
Which was one of the things I actually spoke up in a meeting about today. And it starts off that it begins, it's really interesting. I'm involved in real estate. I've been earning commissions ever since I was 18 years old. So I've never been on a salary. And all of a sudden I sat down and said, do you know what, maybe it's time for a change. Let me sit down and do a resume, because last couple of deals, yada yada, just weren't going the way that I wanted, and money becomes the next obsession, because I go from obsession to obsession to obsession. And I started looking at I've got loads of knowledge, but very few designations at the end of my name.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden I started going down the spiral into this depression, into you're useless, you're pathetic, you're worthless, all these kinds of things, when all of a sudden all I want to do is start picking up food and start eating my way out of it. I've reached the stage now that I've got myself into a meeting and I started ratting on myself. Because if I leave myself at that point, it goes into a much deeper depression and I have a harder time getting out of that state of mind, because this is a scary space that lives over here and it's a very bleak and dark space. And its ultimate goal is really to get me to pick up. So there reaches that stage where I've got to be able to say what is really worrying me. So the certain things that come out, I'm scared, I am a little frustrated, I'm anxious over all the changes that are going on. My husband started a new job, there's certain things going on, a whole lot of different changes, but it all for me tends to come from the stage of fear.
Okay, so, and we know that every single negative emotion is fear-based. And fear, we always talk about, is I'm afraid of losing what I have or not getting what I want. So if we bring that back to fear with you, I can't, my resume doesn't look good enough for me to go out and get a job, right? I'm not good enough, meaning that I'm afraid of not getting what I want. Or if I know to real estate, I'm afraid of not keeping what I have, right?
Right, and then it becomes all about Haiti and I forget about anything else that's going around me. So my world becomes even smaller and smaller when I start focusing on that instead of turning it around and going, do you know what, so this is where it is today. There are different options of ways getting out of this. There are other work options, there are other ways of doing this, but I'd wasted so much time being so self-absorbed yesterday. I missed what was happening with the kids, what was happening in my husband's world, what happened in your world. I just focused on myself for so many hours and it was a total waste of time. And I also find that happens when I start getting into that food mindset, is it becomes, that is all that I'm really focusing on.
Yeah, and you guys, to take a look at ourselves so that we can see what's bothering us, so that we can move forward or get some help or reach out so that we can better ourselves, is different than being just self-absorbed and stuck and scared, which is what you're talking about.
Right.
Because we do have to take a look at ourselves and say, okay, I'm worried about this. I'll reach out or I'll figure out a way. And you guys, usually we don't figure out those ways by ourselves, because if we did, we wouldn't be sitting in this room. So usually it means we're going to reach out to somebody else. And making that decision that when I'm scared, that it's okay for me to say I'm scared. We have one of our friends isn't here tonight, but she always talks about how it's weak to ask for help. And actually the weakest thing that we could possibly do is not ask for help. One of the things that gives us strength, makes us the strongest, is when we do ask for help. So we do say we're vulnerable. If we do say I'm having a problem, who cares? Who cares? I'm having a problem. I'm going to reach out to you. You're going to think less of me, Allie, if I call you and I say, hey, I need some help? No, you're going to feel closer to me, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll feel closer to me and you'll feel kind of on the same plane as me, and it'll give you a chance to help me, which gives you a chance to get out of your own head, right? And we have that chance to be part of this community and to reach out and to help each other.
So one of the tools is reading. I believe that meetings are one, friends, and picking up the phone, and my sponsor, and having a food plan. I've got lots of little tools in my toolkit that I'm able to go to, that I'm able to use. And I actually came across a really great reading. Would you mind if I share it?
I won't mind if you share it.
Okay, awesome.
Anybody mind if she shares it? All right, he's cool.
So this is taken from Just for Today from NA. It's actually Gratefully Recovering is the name of it, and we entertain the thought that staying...
Read slowly, baby.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. We entertain the thought that staying clean was not paying off, and the old thinking stirred up self-pity, resentment, and anger. There are days when some of us wallow in self-pity. It's easy to do. We may have expectations about how our lives should have been in recovery, expectations that aren't met. Maybe we've tried unsuccessfully to control someone, or think our circumstances should be different. Perhaps we compared ourselves with other recovering addicts and found ourselves lacking. The more we try to make our life conform to our expectations, the more uncomfortable we feel. Self-pity can arise from living in our expectations instead of a world as it actually is. When the world doesn't measure up to our expectations, It's often our expectations that need adjusting, not the world. We can start by comparing our life today with the way they used to be by developing gratitude for our recovery. We can extend this exercise in gratitude by counting the good things in our lives, becoming thankful that the world does not conform to our expectations but exceeds them. And if we continue working the steps, further cultivating gratitude and acceptance, what we can expect in the future is more growth, more happiness, and more peace of mind. And just for today, I'll accept my life gratefully just as it is. Isn't this quite amazing that it's actually Thanksgiving? It's about giving thanks and gratitude. And it's interesting how self-pity and the two are actually linked together. And one of the projects that you gave us to do, one of the assignments, was saying goodbye to
our drug of choice, whatever that drug of choice is.
And ours happens to be food. So it was choosing that one or a couple of food items that were really our drug of choice. And we shared that on Downsizing Weight Loss.
Yeah, and a lot of people shared, you guys, everybody that shared their stories, they were all amazing. I know that anybody, yeah, Ellie, you're shaking your head. Mm-hmm. You know, every one of them was so honest and so raw and so true. And I know that every one of those stories is a story that somebody else could relate to. And so that's amazing. So thank you for your courage and your bravery and for reaching out and being part of the community. I appreciate that.
So one of the reasons we always say to come and talk and discuss what you're feeling is because addiction and recovery and addiction really is heart to heart. It's through us sharing our experiences, our strengths, our hopes, our stories, our journeys with each other that helps us actually change our world and change our perspective.
Yeah, and we're always going to get back to that, which of course they say in the rooms, that we're only as sick as our secrets. And you guys, we keep secrets because we're ashamed. Because if I ain't ashamed of something that's happening, I got no problem sharing it with you. Right? So everything that I keep inside that I'm not sharing, I'm keeping inside because I'm ashamed. When I'm ashamed, I'm scared. When I'm scared, I stay stuck and sick. Right? And so the whole thing about getting some recovery is so we can be happy, joyous, and free, not so we could stay stuck and sick and scared. One other thing I wanted to mention real quick that really touched me in the reading was also that they said, you know, when we're trying to control the world around us, and that's when we forget that the only thing that we are in control of is our own perspective and our own actions. That Angie's opinion of me don't got nothing to do with me, right? That's all I need to do is show up to do my best, show up and do my best to do my best. And the world's going to turn the way that it is. And I have no control over how you feel today. And I have no control if my boss comes in a good mood. And I have no control if a bird poops on my car. Like, I don't have control over those things. What I do have control over are my own actions and my reactions to my boss coming in a bad mood and me not reacting to that and saying, hey, I bet he's having a bad day. You know, or with you not liking something that I say, me being able to look at you and say, okay, you have the right to your own opinion. I don't need to try to change that, right? I don't need to try to manipulate that. And if the bird pooped on the car, okay, that's cool. Thank God I have a car for the bird to poop on.
So what I'm understanding is I'm the emotional, either the binge or the purger. Mm-hmm. So for me, those become excuses for me to pick up and for me to justify why I'm picking up and why I'm using.
And that's correct. And so in the beginning, that is what we do, right? We look for reasons to go ahead and pick up again, and we use those reasons really as often as we can in the beginning before we get some clean time. Once we have some clean time and we're starting in our recovery, doesn't just mean that those things happen and we're like, oh, everything's great. They do give us excuses, whether we're picking up or not, to stay stuck and scared. To stay stuck feeling the way that we felt for so long. That's actually comfortable for us to feel like that, right? We're used to sitting in our poop, and now we're still sitting in our poop. We're just not eating while we're sitting in our poop. And sometimes it's more comfortable to sit there than it is to do the work that we need to do, to say it out loud that we're going to make the change. Because once we do that, we get rid of the excuses to pick up. And so what happens tomorrow if my boss does come in a bad mood and I've decided and I've said it out loud that I'm working on my recovery, then I can't use that as an excuse to use, right? It makes it harder.
Right. And also I think that, speaking for myself, because it's the only way I can talk, is I always had that fear of people not liking me, that if I spoke my truth, that people wouldn't like me because of what I said, if I was being honest. And the other thing is that I never thought that I was worthwhile as well, that what I was saying was worthwhile for me to be able to share, that people would actually want to hear what I've got to say, because I wasn't that important.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk about ego for a second, because that's actually what you're talking about. So when I won't say what's on my mind because I'm worried about, you're new here, if you're going to like me or not, that means that your opinion of me is more important than my own opinion of me. So if I'm going to show up and just tell my truth and come from a place of my heart, right? And again, do the best to do my best. Whatever you think or whatever you feel or whatever you, it ain't my business anymore. What's my business is just showing up and doing my best to do my best. And those things that you talk about are the fears that everybody has.
So we had people that showed up. So I think, should we check in with them and go around the room and see everyone how they do?
All right, then we're checking in. Allie, how are ya?
Hey, good.
What's up, girl?
I did show up.
Yes, you
Yes,
did.
you did.
Thank you. What's up?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
How are you doing cravings wise? Truth?
Cravings wise.
Mhm.
Fine.
So guys, fine. Effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. How are you doing?
Well, cravings wise, legit, I'm fine.
Okay, cool.
It's,
all right.
It's the overeating that I have. Cravings wise, I'm fine.
So let's actually, and you know, thank you for correcting me. I'm an anorexic, so for me, you know, to withhold food is to withhold food. There's no difference between cravings or overeating, and for you, there's no, because those thoughts aren't in my head. So let's bunch cravings and overeating, or the want to overeat with cravings. Thanks for clearing that up, because everybody out there is probably like, why is she always asking about craving? Anyway, so thank you. So let's talk about that. Are you overeating?
Yes.
Yes, you are. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. How do you feel? Do you know how you're feeling before you're overeating? Like, do you have the efforts, like, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do? Or is there some kind of thought process? Or?
No, it depends. Sometimes I go into it like, I'm not going to overeat.
Okay.
And then I do.
Okay. And do you have any idea of why you're doing that?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
When sometimes you do, can you share that?
I'm trying to think of a good example.
Because this is super important stuff.
Like,
so.
Yesterday I had a dinner, and I was like, I'm going to split this dinner in half, or take the portion that I know is going to fill me up or is going to make me satisfied. And I didn't do that, and the feeling that I had was that it was just a long day, and I was like very frustrated, and I just like didn't want to think about it, and you know, same kind of.
So a couple really important things. First thing that you said was, I'm gonna eat enough to fill me up. So hear that you said that. I'm gonna fill myself up. Okay, so food doesn't fill us up, right? Food is supposed to sustain us. It's not really there to fill us up. And then you overeat anyway, because obviously you wanted to be full of something. So I think that we fill ourselves up or want to be full of something when we're just feeling effing empty. You know, when we're running on empty, when either we're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, those things that they talk about in the room, we're having some kind of a feeling of discontent, right? We're just not feeling, you know, we're not there, we're not happy. And so you overate, and then how did you feel after it?
Really guilty.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I did that again when I said I wasn't going to.
Okay, and so those things that you're talking about where I feel guilty is I did something wrong. Shame is I'm crap because I did it. So do you feel guilty or shamed?
Guilty.
Okay, so you think I did something wrong and you don't take it personally to yourself?
No, like I didn't feel like I was like disgusting or a terrible person for it. I felt I had made the wrong decision in overeating when I knew that I shouldn't have.
Okay, and that was the end of it.
Right.
So that's awesome, because for me, when I relapsed, I felt like shit about myself every effing second of the day. Every waking second, and probably during my sleep and when I woke up. And for me, I have to remember that that makes me feel ashamed, because for me, when I feel ashamed, I'm sick, right? And so I know that there's something that I need to work through. So that's just me. That's just my experience. And so you said that you felt guilty, which means I did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to beat myself up about it, right? And then what do you do next time so that doesn't happen?
Well, I kind of created a plan as far as like, I'm not gonna have this certain food because I can't make a portion that
Yeah,
like,
so I can't take a
be,
Percocet and you can't have 3 bites of this food.
Right.
What food are we talking about?
It was Chipotle. It was like chicken and guacamole with salsa.
Okay, and had you eaten this before?
Yeah.
And had you overeaten it before?
Yeah, I always overeat
Then
on
what?
the same
okay,
exact...
let's stop.
Yeah.
I always overeat, right?
Yeah.
So Haiti knows that she can't have nuts, even though it's not rice bread, potato pasta, and sweets, right? Because they make her sick, or she can't stop eating them. And so if you've done it before, I need to understand, because I need for you to understand, if it's behavior that you've done before that you know you have no control over, like the 50,000 times maybe I just felt like taking 10 milligrams of Percocet and wound up taking 400. And so I know that, and I know it's going to happen. And I know if I take one, that's what's going to happen, because I'm an addict. I know what it looks like at the end of that one Percocet. And I make a conscious decision to do something that I know is going to hurt myself. And then I do it again. And then I do it again. And then I do it again, right?
Right.
That's active addiction. So even though we're not eating something that's one of our trigger foods, still something that we need to recognize. It would be like if I switched to alcohol. That would go over really well, by the way. If I switched to alcohol and I said, well, I'm just going to have one shot of whatever, and I know it ain't going to look like that at the end. And so the thing is to figure out why, if you weren't successful the first time, why you chose to do it the second time.
Well, I keep telling myself that I'm gonna be fine because
you're a lion.
Well, I had done it like twice before where I'd able to like proportion it out, and I'd been like, oh, okay, I'm fine, I did good. But then I went back to the behavior where I was just overeating it.
Yeah, so that's
so I keep telling myself, oh, I can do it this time, and then I don't.
Right, and so I'm going to tell you that's your addiction talking, right?
Yes.
Because if you did it once unsuccessfully, there's a 90 billion% chance that you're going to be unsuccessful next time. So let's not BS ourselves about that. If there's a food that you can't say in the middle of your meal, I know that I've had enough to eat, I'm going to put the rest away, and you're overeating it, don't do it again. And then it's time to find out why you are doing what you're doing. But in the meantime, you have to stop the behavior so the brain stays clean enough for you to be paying attention to what's going on that's causing you to do what you're doing, as opposed to paying attention to what you're doing. Right? Because as soon as I start back in active addiction, now my brain gets to switch to, well, this is a problem, and now again, like you said, now I'm paying attention to the food.
So when I was doing my serial dieting, which was that Monday the diet begins, and it became the whole willpower question of I'm not eating this today. And I know how that looks at the end of the day because it always ended the same way. And when all of a sudden I had the bariatric surgery and I go, well, do you know what? I liked feeling full, but all of a sudden my stomach's this big and I can't eat the same portions that I used to eat. There was like a sense of loss that I couldn't finish what I used to eat as well, which was part of my addiction and part of me, and that need to feel full and feeling that maybe I was being badly done by, or maybe and that was what should have been mine and I wasn't allowed to eat it. And I think it also became a whole new way of looking at things. When I started seeing that willpower issue in my world, then all of a sudden I know it starts becoming an addiction issue, because if I keep doing the same things over and over again, getting exactly the same results, and I know what that's going to look like because I'm dieted to the point where I've gained and lost over 600 pounds. So I know what that looks like, but I keep doing it. then something's got to stop, and abstinence becomes the key to that, because like you say, we just cannot pick that up, because that for us becomes that trigger that is going to end in exactly the same way.
Well, I understand that. And then I also think about, so if I'm abstaining from these certain trigger foods, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I make these choices to make these healthier foods, and then it's like nuts, for example. That was something that I liked, that I kind of weaned off of because I was getting too like compulsive, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, okay, well now I can't have fucking nuts. And then I'm like, okay, well now I can't have Chipotle. And then it's like, well, I really like cheese. Fuck you, you can't have cheese anymore. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like...
Okay, so as long as you're coming from a place of lack, you will never be successful.
You're right.
Listen, so we're going to make a little bit of a twist. So I have patients that come in that are diabetics on insulin, right? And they shouldn't need to be on insulin because they're type 2 diabetics and they make insulin, right? So if they change their lifestyle, they won't need to be on insulin. Mm-hmm. And my patients say that, are you saying that I could never have rice again? And you know, of course, my stock answer is, I ain't saying nothing. You could do whatever you want to do. So if you want to choose to go blind, tell me right now, Felice, my choice is to go blind, so I'm going to eat rice. Okay? We have choices. So I can choose to say, oh man, I can't ever do this again. Or I could choose to say, you know what? If I change this behavior, I'm going to wake up happy tomorrow. I can come from a place of abundance as opposed to coming from a place of lack. As soon as I say, I can't do this and I can't do this, now it's pour me a drink, right? So as long as I'm in that pour me thing and I'm feeling sorry for myself and I'm drowning in self-pity, that gives me the greatest, you know what? F it, man. I feel like shit anyway. I might as well use. Yeah, I've never said that to myself before. Never, especially when I was drinking. Man, I never said that like 856 billion times to myself so that I can continue to drink.
So the shift is really in that word. So instead of can't, it becomes a choice. So I'm choosing not to have this rather than I can't have that. So that's where the shift really starts.
Yeah, that's true. And that's the beginning of changing the biology of the brain, of our self-talk. And that's true. But it's looking also, starting there and looking past it and saying, what does tomorrow look like? What does tomorrow look like if I continue my behaviors? Does tomorrow look like I'm the person that goes back to the doctor and I've gained 200 pounds? Because I got those patients. Those patients come to see me when they're diabetic. Or does my tomorrow look like, you know what, I didn't eat Chipotle last night and today I feel great and I'm continuing on this journey and it's looking the way that I want it to look, and I know in the end, in the middle I'm getting happy, and at the end I'm going to be a whole lot happier. So at least I don't have to deal with that part of it and stay in the shame. And I get a chance to work on my recovery as opposed to just working on changing my diet and restricting.
And I think you're correct.
Of course.
This is accurate.
Always right.
Part of it is that I still want excitement in food.
Sweetheart, I know. I still, listen, if somebody told me that tomorrow I could eat 100 milligrams of oxycodone successfully and then, you know, go about my life and not have that craving, that mental obsession and going through all of that stuff that keeps me in active addiction, I think about that too. Mm-hmm. You know, I think about using too. The thing is, I know what it looks like at the end of that using. And I know it's never just for tomorrow. And I don't need to get happy on drugs, man. I need to get happy on life. I need to find excitement in the things that are my everyday stuff that I'm grateful for. I need to be involved in other stuff that gets me high. You know? I leave these meetings, we run these meetings, and I'm buzzed, man. Like, that's my buzz for the day. So, food, first of all, take it from an anorexic, ain't exciting. I find zero excitement in food, so not everybody has to find excitement in food, right? So we know that. So if I'm an anorexic, right, and I don't find excitement in food, and I really don't, then I need to find other stuff. I need to pay attention to other stuff that's making me happy. Other stuff that I can do that makes me happy. And so your challenge for this week, I don't know how much your sponsor holds you to, whatever your thing is with your sponsor, of your responsibility to your sponsor. So I'm going to ask you, for me, Your challenge is going to be, and I'm going to ask you to stick with it, just us as one addict helping another, is that every day until our next Wednesday night meeting, you're going to text me with your gratitude list. You're doing your gratitude list every night?
I didn't do it last night.
Okay, so do it every night, please. And then also text one thing that you feel that you could get excitement in life from. Play putt-putt golf, man. So much fun. Like, I played putt-putt golf for the first time in forever, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Find stuff to do that's fun. Read a great book. Do a crossword. Take a bath. Do something. Chat with a friend. Write a poem. Like, find stuff. Crochet. Like, whatever. Jump off put a parachute on, jump out of a plane. Whatever it is. But find other stuff beside the food, because being obese and gaining your weight back and not being able to breathe or bend over and tie your shoes ain't effing exciting.
It's not.
It's not.
No.
So you gotta play that excitement out to the end. It might be really exciting to rob a bank, but I'm not gonna do well in prison. Right? No matter how exciting it is to rob that bank. So it's also about us looking to the other, what does the other side of that look like? So next 7 days, so I want 7 things, one a day, that you're going to think about that might be something exciting to do instead of eating. And the fact that you said that I still want to get excited about food is what everybody out there is thinking, man. Everybody's like, how do I give this up? It's my buzz. Like, how do I give it up? Find another buzz. You know, something that's healthy and that's gonna make you feel great, and something that after it makes you feel good, you don't have to feel ashamed about yourself or guilty about doing it.
So can I ask you, can we open up that challenge to everyone on
Yeah,
downsizing, weight
absolutely.
loss?
Absolutely. That would be really cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if everyone could start posting things they do instead of eating, it might also trigger something in someone else. It might actually encourage them to try something different. If you've read a great book, if you've done something, we went bowling last night, whatever it is, let's start posting up there, because it might encourage someone to try something different.
Something else fun. Allie, I love you so much. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Want to share?
Sure. Well, I don't know.
You binging? And purging?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Okay,
I find it, I don't know, it's really hard every day to wake up, even though we keep talking about this, but that's just my struggle. Every day to wake up and want to do different. Tell myself today's different. You're not going to do it today. You're not going to do it. And then I get to that point where my head starts talking about and this and that and this. And, oh, you could just purge. You could just do this. You could just do that to get, you know.
Question. Are you doing your gratitude list every day?
Not every day, but I'm.
So that's a no. I'm not doing my gratitude list every day. Are you reaching out to somebody in the community every day?
No.
No. We're talking about teeny, teeny, tiny little things just to start to change your perspective a tiny little bit. So it's great for me to say, you know what? I wish I didn't wake up and eat Percocet every day, but I was doing it. So again, if nothing changes, nothing changes. What are you willing to do to recover? I know that you don't want to stay. I know that you feel like you feel horrible. I know that you do. Today you don't look so bad. The other day, I felt, everybody, I can tell you, felt so bad for you, man. You are in so much pain, you know? The reason why we could feel for you is because we all been there. Every one of us has done it. Binging and purging is your drug of choice. Everybody has their own drug of choice, you know, and everybody could feel your pain. You've got to, if you want to change, you got to change. So when someone gives you a teeny tiny little challenge, do it. Do it. What would you tell your daughter, man? What would you tell your daughter? Do it. Get well. Work around. You know, you're afraid of getting well. Because if you get well, you don't have your binging and purging. She's looking at me like, she don't know what the fuck she's talking about. You don't have that binging and purging to get that buzz that you're getting right now. There's so much going on with you that you're not talking about. And I don't know what that is because you're not talking about it. There's so much going on with you that you're not talking about it, that until you decide to make the change, start taking the couple little steps. Those couple little steps are going to make you feel a part of. Once you're a part of, you're going to be able to start talking about what it is that's killing you, man, because you're killing yourself. You're killing yourself.
I think just besides binging and purging, I think for me, stress, the amount of stress that I put on myself and think and stress and worry and all these things I worry about kills me more than everything.
Sarah, the binging and the purging is the end result. It's not the problem. You shooting yourself in the foot ain't the problem. Why do I want to shoot myself in the foot? That's where the problem is. What are you not sharing? I'm stressed. Why? Why? What are you stressed about? And I'm not asking you to share that right now unless you want to. But what are you stressed about? What are you stressing over? What stuff can't you control that you're spending time stressing over?
I think everything stresses me. I'm such a worrisome person.
Right. So you need to learn how not to be a worrisome person, because all the shit you're worried about ain't happening anyway.
Right.
It's not happening. Right? So you're stuck and sick, right? You're stuck and scared. How do we learn to be unfearful? We do our step work. Do your step work. Reach out to Ange and let her go over your step work with you. Make a decision to make a change, no matter what that looks like. Take one little listen, you show up here, so I know that you want to change. Now you have to have the willingness to do the work, whatever that looks like, so that you could come in here one day happy. You know, with this one, and I think that we mentioned it, we went to a meeting the other guy, and this guy says to me, Ange looks so great. Like, first of all, he was freaked out. She came over and she gave me a hug, and she grinned from ear to ear, and I didn't know that girl could smile. This is from a dude that don't know her, that just knows her from going to meetings. I was like, wow, I can't believe the change in her. He doesn't even know her, but he could see it written all over her face. So that's the stuff that you want. She didn't just get that way. She works every single day of her life on her recovery and does whatever I tell her to do, no matter how much she hates me for it. We're talking about you taking a little tiny step. Make the commitment to make that first step, teeny tiny thing, to say, okay, I'll make this one little change, so that the next little change will be easier, and the next little change will be easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it did.
So the easiest one to start with is three things you're grateful for every single day and your strength for the day. Start off with one little simple change. And that gratitude list is the easiest way to start doing. We all can do it. And you can either post it on Downsizing Weight Loss, or you can post it in our group and our WhatsApp group, or you can text it. Whatever you're comfortable doing, just make it a priority to do it no matter what time of the day, before midnight. Just get it out there.
And sometimes I fall asleep, and Angela texts me at 5 o'clock in the morning. You didn't do your gratitude list, so now it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm doing my gratitude. She's like, duh. Yeah. And it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm doing a gratitude list. It don't matter. Just do it. Then I do yesterday. I was blessed and grateful for, and then that day I'll do today. I'm blessed and grateful for. Okay, we got a question.
Yeah.
Oh, am I supposed to?
Yeah. Wait. We got the people on Zoom as well. So let's.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Awesome to see you.
Thanks.
Is there anything that you want to say?
Just listening right now. My name's Jared, by the way.
Hi. Really nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Just enjoying and listening. It's great. I'm in recovery. I'm a compulsive overeater. Been doing really well the last 3-4 months. Lost a significant amount of weight. Completely changed my lifestyle, my food habits, and basically, one of the struggles right now is struggling with a little bit of success, which is kind of you would think, oh, that's a great struggle to have. But you reach a point where kind of a plateau, and it's what you've done is noticeable, and there comes a lot of affirmation that comes with that. And I call it, I used to watch the show Dexter, and he had this thing called the dark passenger.
Oh, yeah.
I call mine the fat passenger.
Awesome, the fat passenger.
Because he's my fat passenger that's always riding beside me. And when he's in the driver's seat, obviously I'm not in my recovery, but when I kick him in the backseat, but he's always there, and he's always whispering in my ear, and he's always telling me, oh, you can do that. Look how well you've done. You deserve. You can do. So for me, it's always about keeping the fat passenger out of the driver's seat, and especially when that first little bit of affirmation starts to come and what you've done is noticeable, he really kicks in hard and tries to, make you go back to what you did before, which of course, if you go back to what you did before, you'll get what you got before. So, so right now, especially with Thanksgiving tomorrow and things, I've really determined to stay the course and keep doing what I've been doing and not let a little bit of success go to my head.
And you're in a recovery program?
Yeah, I go.
Yeah, because you speak recovery. So yeah,
absolutely.
So, okay,
yeah.
cool.
I attend OA, regularly. So
Okay.
it's but my wife told me about this. She's connected with you guys, so and I wanted to come check it out. And it's been wonderful. You guys it's been great.
So have you got
Thanks for
numbers?
coming.
As long as you got numbers to call for tomorrow, we also have the group on Facebook.
Which I may be
So
part of.
it's members only. To become a member, you just say you want to be a member and you join.
Okay.
And it's a private space that we can discuss whatever we want to.
Cool.
If we're struggling, whatever it is, get feedback from the community. We're all in the same place.
Great.
And it's there to be supportive to each other.
How much clean time do you have?
Well, I joined OA. I'm 2 years in OA, and I had a great first 6 months. Fell off the wagon, went back, and then I'm about 4 months right now of real strong abstinence.
Awesome.
So it's been very, very productive. So
Awesome.
that's,
Really proud of you.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's been really, really good. But it's kind of like finding that balance of a little pat on the back and a little kick in the ass at the same time.
Yeah, I was clean for 7 years and I relapsed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is to know that any day,
Sucks.
any day that you get comfortable. For me, with my fat passenger, anytime I fall asleep at the wheel, he's more than willing to jump in and start driving, and he will. I mean, he will drive me right into the grave, because the reality is he wants to kill me.
Right to the bakery, yeah.
No, he wants to kill me.
No, of course, and so we say that in the rooms too, right? That addiction is the only disease that wants to see you dead.
Right.
Well, mine just wants me to suffer. Suffer really
Mine
long.
wants to see me dead.
Yeah.
Suffer and then die.
Mine wants to kill me gradually and
Yeah.
destroy my body along the way to where I'm crippled and a shell of myself and all that. And I know that. And you were talking about the momentary, like what does tomorrow look like? And for me, I've kind of come to the conclusion, like what does even 15 minutes later look like?
Right.
Like not just like tomorrow, like when I get done overeating, I not only feel shame, but physically I feel like shit.
Of course.
I mean,
of course.
I feel logy, I feel tired, all that stuff. And if I can just look beyond this momentary gratification or excitement, whatever, just this one moment, if I can look beyond that, then I see energy, I see life, I see vitality, I see all these things that are on the other side of this momentary thing. And that's just to try to keep the focus on just a little bit around the corner,
And what you
That's
did,
good.
and I just want
That's
you to
good.
hear what he just did.
I heard it very
Right, was that he's coming from a place of abundance,
Yeah.
not from a place of lack, right? Not, I can't believe I can't have this, but if I don't have this, I get to be happy, joyous, and free, right?
Right, yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
way
Thank
better
you.
than the momentary gratification of
For 2 seconds, man.
It is. It really
2
is.
seconds, and then shit. Like my whole life is shit after
Right.
that.
On every level.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for
Yeah.
having me here. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'd love to get him to tell his story
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
day if you're comfortable
Sure,
with
of
that.
course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause I would love to share that.
Anytime.
You're a really good speaker.
Thanks. Anytime.
So beside the fact that you speak really good recovery, you're also a really good speaker. So thanks. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
I really do. Miss Ange,
Yes.
you want to check in with anything, baby?
Not really. I mean, it was a good week. Everything's the same, going pretty well.
Okay, and we talked about having some cravings, right? We talked about different times in the month where you're having some cravings and you're noticing that, and
Right.
we had a conversation about that.
Yeah, but I mean, they're just cravings. I don't think I'll act on them. So.
Yeah, and so that's another thing too. We talk a lot, if I want to use, I'll call you. If I want to use, I'll call you. Actually, I tell everybody if I want to use, because if I talk about it, I'm less apt to do it. And so we talk about cravings are just cravings. It's just that, wow, I really want to do this right now. Again, it's like, okay, I really want to rob a bank right now, but I'm not gonna. So I really feel like using, I don't even know why at this moment, but doesn't mean that I have to do it just because I want to, right? Feelings aren't facts. I'm having a feeling. It's not a fact that I have to do it, it's just a friggin' feeling. And the fact is that that feeling's gonna go away. Okay? Okay. Thank you, Ange.
How much clean time have you got?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
We have it on my phone. You have
240-ish
8 months
days.
and
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. Nights and weekends.
Guys on Zoom, do you want to unmute yourself so we can hear you, Karen?
Karen?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm doing really good. You know, I really identify with what you were saying to Allie about finding the things you get excited about besides the food, because I've had that same feeling, like it felt like it was the only had. But I'm finding there are other things that I'm really starting to get excited about. It could be vacuuming the house while I'm listening to my favorite music and just dancing while I've got vacuum in my house. Little things that are nothing,
Yeah.
but they actually keep me happy and moving on to the next thing. So
You know, Karen, you just said, you know, they're kind of nothing. They're kind of everything. You know, when we do our gratitude list, okay, I'm grateful that my kids are alive and my house didn't fall down. It's being grateful that my nails came out perfect. It's being grateful that whatever, like any little tiny thing that, you know, the moon was so friggin' beautiful tonight, by the way. It was so beautiful. Being so happy that I got to see the moon. Being so happy that I saw a cute movie the other day. Being so happy that you know, whatever little tiny thing that I can find to be grateful for, because there are a bazillion things that are going to happen today that I could choose to look at and be happy for. And if I do that, I'm happy. Right? It's that one thing that I look at that I decide that I'm coming from a place of lack and oh, poor pitiful me, that I let go through the day, that takes away all the stuff that I'm grateful for. 50 things great are going to happen and 50 things not so great are going to happen. It's my choice to look at the 50 awesomeness things, right? And so if you're having fun dancing around vacuuming, man, that's awesome. That's everything. It's not nothing. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And you also have an accountability buddy, correct?
pardon me?
You have an accountability buddy?
I do, it's Angela.
Yeah, you do. And so I know that you're doing that with her, and that's super helpful, right? You have somebody to reach out to?
Absolutely. She's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, I know. We
And
all
Karen
know.
is wonderful too. She does it every single day since we started. So
So you just got kudos for that.
yeah.
She said you're wonderful because you do it every single day. She's not hearing.
So there's
Very
a
good.
delay. She's hearing.
It's delayed. so
It's
I'm
delayed,
missing some of
okay.
it.
Thank you for sharing, Karen. It's so good to see your face. Thank you,
So
Mama.
we've got two Sarahs.
Sarah?
Do you want to
Hi,
unmute
how
yourself?
are you?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
So much to say that I'm speechless.
That never happens to me.
I am a compulsive overeater and an online shopper.
Okay.
Online shopping is tricky to stop
Yeah.
because, you know, it just is. You know what? I can only speak for myself. I also suffer from a very manageable anxiety disorder.
Okay.
And I find that is, of course, tied. And I've been in and out of the room since 2004. I have lost 60 pounds, but I really treated it the first time as a plain old diet. And I remember telling my friend who introduced me to the room, I said, when I see a certain number on the scale, I'm out of here. And I'm going to be a normal eater. I'm gonna do that.
That's funny.
Yeah. How did that
Not a
work?
diet, not that number.
You told a joke.
And I've been in and out of the rooms, you know, back and forth like that. And then I shared with some of the people that I lost my husband not even 4 years ago.
Yeah, I'm
to
sorry.
Lung disease. And we kept my husband home during this illness, so it was a very, very stressful time
Okay.
for me and my kids. And saw him dying, and
I'm sorry about that.
There was nothing to do. So of course, I tried to numb my pain. It's also, you know what? It's grief, and it's numbing pain, and it's filling a void, and it's a whole bunch of things.
Right. And so remember, it doesn't matter which emotion we're trying to change with the food. It's just that we don't want to deal with whatever that's from. So,
And I did the steps. This is also what's very tricky for me. I did the steps, and there's a lot of emphasis on step 4. And it took me 6 months to do it twice, and making amends, and etc. And it's all good, but somehow with grief, like I tell myself, how is that really connected?
okay.
It's not. It's
Okay, so that's a big story. And let me tell you something super quick about the steps. If you can't do step 4, it's because you never got the spiritual principle behind step 1. Spiritual principle behind step 1 is honesty. End of discussion. That means I'm going to be honest with me and I'm going to be honest with you. So if I'm honest with me and I'm honest with you, I could do any of the rest of the steps. Right? When you're talking about grief that's dealing with, are you seeing a therapist?
You know what? I did, and I stopped.
So that's a no.
I really need to.
Yeah, you really need
because
to.
I lost my son 2 months
I know. And I lost my kid too.
Wow. So now, other than my going to his burial spot once a week after I go to the supermarket, it's not a good idea. And rewarding myself with an online treat, it's just not.
Yeah. So let me tell you something real quick because we got 5 minutes. So grief is grief. I started using after my 17-year-old kid died in an accident. I was the straightest person on the planet before that. So I hear you. The thing is that whether it's our kid's death or our husband's death or because I stubbed my toe, whatever is happening, and I need to put it like that for me, not for you, but for me. No matter what happens, I can't use it as an excuse to use because I'm killing myself, right? And so if I want to have any crack at any life that's worth anything, I need to make that decision to get help. Your kid died, you need to see a counselor. That's why God made counselors. See a counselor, find one that you like.
I just want to say quickly that I went to my doctor for a well visit, and I'd say, the blood work tells the truth, and the scale tells the truth. And the doctor told me that my bad cholesterol is high. And
Okay.
I'm thinking, wow, really? Sure.
Okay, so let's get away from that. Let's get away from the physical stuff. Spiritually, you need help. Come here to the meetings and see a therapist so that you could start getting yourself well, baby, because until you start getting yourself a little bit better, you're not going to have a chance at recovery. I can promise you that.
And I have a good therapist waiting for my phone call.
Okay, then call. Pick up the phone and call. And thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Yes,
So we're coming to the end of our time. We only have a few minutes left. So I just wanted to check in. Downsides and Weight Loss on Facebook is a place to post all your questions, to give each other support, to read and to post our letters to our food, saying goodbye to whatever our drug of choice is. Our next meeting is Sunday, 9 a.m. We have them every single week, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday nights, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The way of getting out of our head is to be of service to another addict. Reach out to another addict. Share this broadcast. Share our videos. We do these live streams every single week. We have the archive on YouTube. Please go watch some past videos. Get notifications. Subscribe to our channel. Bring someone else to the rooms, extend the hand of love to someone else so that they don't need to live in pain with shame or guilt either, because it is a really crappy place to be. Wishing you all the best for Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. It is a special time. I'm grateful for everybody here tonight.
And we'll go ahead and answer questions, you guys, that we didn't get a chance to get to. We'll answer them online on Facebook after the meeting. I am blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm blessed and grateful for so much. Thank you guys for showing up because you make my recovery so much easier and so much nicer for me. I'm super glad that everybody was here. And
I'm blessed and grateful for all of you.
And I'm Felice.
And I'm Haiti.
Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace out. Thank you.
Bye.
It worked.